All right, let's use some free software that will run on your Chromebook, I hope, to make a keychain, one of our first projects for exploring woods. We're going to go to a website called vectr.com, Vectr.com. I've already logged in. When you get there, it's the usual login business. If you've got a Google account, you can use that or create a new account. And once you're in, you'll get to your main file here, or your main screen, and we'll start with a new file. Go to full screen and get all that extra stuff off of there. So we're going to do kind of a roundabout way of doing this because Vectr's got some really cool fonts, but it doesn't export the fonts in a scalable vector format. So we're going to steal it as just a rasterized graphic for this project, and we'll try to get there for later. All right, so for our keychain, we're going to need a rectangle. Choose the rectangle tool, draw a rectangle, and then over here on this panel, we need to make a couple settings. For the background, we're just going to uncheck that. For the border, what we want is just a reference color. So in this case, we're going to use blue. And one thing I love about this is you can just type the word blue, and it will set the RGB value for blue, which is 0000FF, which is no reds, no greens, and all the blue. So what the blue tells us on a laser cutter is that this is just a comet. It's not going to do anything with it there. It's just on the screen, so we can use that for reference. And then down here for our dimensions, we can see that it is, oopsie, it's in pixels right now. We want inches. So we're going to go up here to File Settings. And, don't be afraid to hover over these to see what each one does. File Settings, and let's set this to inches. It doesn't change anything on the screen. It just changes the units that it's using for everything. So now down here for our dimensions, we're going to make this 3.5 by 1. Now watch what happens. It just changed this number to 3.12. What it's done is it's linked those two to keep it proportionally sized. We want to unlink it by unchecking this box right here. So a lot of programs will have a similar feature where it will link X, Y. Let's go back, make it 3.5 by 1. Perfect. We don't need a shadow. We don't need an inset shadow. All that is just kind of there to get our attention. And then for the border, let's go back to points. And let's go ahead and make that like a 2-point border, just so it stands out so we can see it when we export it. All right, so double checking, we've got a blue border, 2-point, no shadow, no inset shadow, and double check our file settings in inches. It's 3.5 by 1. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take your file and stick it on a template and match that up with that blue line right there. So everything inside the space is our design space now. So now we can create some text. Click right there and there's some funky stuff going on there, but that's fine. So we can go over there, we can select this, we can move it around, we can scale that. So we want that to fit inside that space. And let's go over here and choose a font. Like I said, this program's got some really cool fonts in it that you won't find on your main Windows platform. So pick a font that you like. Scale it up so it fits in there, not too close to the edges. About right there looks good. And then for this one, we want this to engrave. So blue is our color to just ignore. It's a comet color. To engrave, we want it to be black. So we're going to go to our background now. So this time, instead of doing a box around it, we want to fill this inside, and we want this to be black. And on this program, again, I can just type the word black and wham. Otherwise, it's just 000000 is your RGB value. All right, so we've got some text in there. We'll put a hole in the actual key ring, but that's part of the template that I'll use. If we were doing cutouts, well, I'll do the hole right now. Why not? Draw a hole right there, and let's make it 1/4 by 1/4. And we want it to have no background with a border. And to cut, we're going to use red. And one other thing on that is it needs to be in, let's go back to points. In order for the laser engraver to recognize it as a cut, it's got to be 0.25 points or less. So we'll go 0.2 right there, no shadow, no inset shadow, right there. So it will see that red line that's 0.25 or less and say, ooh, I have to cut this. And we'll stick it right over about like so, and you can see the center lines right there, so it will snap to the center of our drawing, and that'll import just fine. And the last thing we could do is we could throw an image in here. So let's see here, somewhere in here. There we go. I've got my conure picture. Oh my gosh, it's really big. That's okay. We can grab a corner. Oopsie, undo. Notice how when I grab this, I can make them really squishy squashy. If I want to lock the X and Y, I'm going to hold the Shift key. Holding the Shift key while I click and drag will get me where I want it to be. Okay, notice as I get closer to my actual size, it's covering up my text. I've put it on top. So in a vector design environment, you've got layers basically. And it's just like laying down one picture on top of another. And what I want to do here is go up to this right here and say, send that to back. Right there. So it's going to send it behind all my text. That way the text has a chance to be on top. And then this white space right here gets ignored. Then I can, oopsie. One more time, hold the Shift key. Oopsie, undo. Grab the bird, uh-oh. So right now I can't grab the bird because the bird's behind everything. So I'm just gonna select this box and send it to the back, allowing me to select the bird. So just imagine like see-through cards on a table. If you can't grab the one you want, you might need to take the one on top and send it to back using the send to back command. All right, so looking at that, everything's right where I want it. And have fun with this. Go wild and crazy. You can put whatever you want in there as long as it's appropriate. If it's not appropriate, I'll just simply throw it out and you'll never see it. So, you know, make good choices. All right, from here, we want to export this. And we're going to choose the PNG option. So the SVG is scalable vector graphics, and that will send everything in a vector format, which is really what we want. Unfortunately, it doesn't give us the font. We can do both. Let's go ahead and do a SVG download. There it goes down near my download bar. And while I'm in here, we'll do a PNG, and this is a rasterized graphic, and we'll download down there. All right, so let me show you what happens on my end. We're going to go into Inkscape now. And let's go to import. This is the part I'm doing, so you don't have to panic too much right here. So there's the SVG. So notice it changed my font. Right there's what we had, that thick chunky font, and it just gave me a plain font there. But if I go back up here and I say import and I grab the PNG, put those side by side for comparison. So you can see what's going on. When I look at the bird, look how crisp the lines are around the edge of the bird. So this is what happens in a scalable vector format. It's going to keep those lines nice and smooth. When we go to a raster graphic, it's going to start making these boxy pixelated lines. So it looks kind of blurry right there. It'll probably turn out okay for what we're doing for a first project. The other thing this does is it allows us to keep our font. Now what I could do is I could in here take the text from one and overlay it on the other one, or take the bird from one and move it up and do some moving around. But I'm anticipating having like 100 of these to do, so really I don't want to do any post-processing. What I want you to do is give me the best possible one-off, and then I'll take it into my Inkscape program and make sure it's got the hole and the cutout, and we'll have a keychain soon. So this part you don't have to worry about. This is just me showing you what this can do. What we need to do in Inkscape is to create a 3 1/2 by 1 inch blue box with some text and maybe a graphic. You don't have to have a graphic. And then export both a PNG and an SVG. If you send them both to me, I'll take the best one and make it work. Send that to me in either an email or an assignment submission, and we'll take it from there. Good luck.